At this point, does Kamala Harris or Tim Walz even know what they're doing? Let's talk about it on Azimuth Podcast. One of the reasons we say this is because if you still go to Kamala Harris's 2024 presidential website, there are still no policies. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look real quick. All right, so here we are on the website, and of course you can donate. We're not going to do that. And we go to the main page, and we scroll down, and we can see that we can join the campaign or donate.
Or volunteer.
And then that's it.
Yep.
That's it. There's no other. There's Meter. There's Meet Tim Walz. There's Take Action. There's the store. There is nothing else. But interestingly enough, Donald Trump says since she has no policies on her website, he went ahead and made hers for her. And so we're going to go ahead and go to Kamala2024policies.com, and we can see that there's a chance to donate.
A lot more information.
But I mean, we get down to, oh, look, here is her policies.
I mean, and all he had to do was summarize things that she has said since she last ran in 2020.
Yeah, exactly. So the highlights here are fighting to set murderers free. And if we open this up, it talks about the Minnesota Freedom Fund. When BLM riots were burning down Minnesota, she helped raise money to pay the bail for the arsonists to get out.
Yeah, and remember, Tim Walz was the governor, and he withheld deploying the National Guard for a couple days to help with the riots.
And his daughter kind of gave the BLM leaders, the rioters, a heads up on when it would happen as well. So it's kind of like giving the information, getting information out. So anyway, this is her position. This is true. This is what she did do. And so Trump just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that that was one of her policies. Now, also, more Bidenomics. It's working. The rising costs, nothing to worry about. So we open this thing up, and she wants to spend a tremendous amount of money, and she the $1.9 trillion stimulus, she wanted it to be, I think it was $7 trillion that she wanted to do, or $3 trillion, and President Biden just kind of told her to sit down, shut up, and color, because it was much worse inflation. So I mean, this is really kind of what she wants to do. She wants to abolish the borders. This, Harris was appointed as the border czar. Now there's a lot of, was she the border czar? Was she put in charge of the border? There's a lot of minutia on which word is more precise. But bottom line, she was put in charge of the border, and it has been an absolute disaster. She and Biden eliminated all the executive orders that Trump did to keep us safe and to keep illegal immigration down to its lowest levels, and they just ripped that tourniquet off.
It was
and let
like
the blood
91 pieces of legislation that President Trump had signed, and Biden just ripped it up.
Yeah, I mean, so
day one, literally day one.
I mean, we've talked about this one before. There's this great replacement theory, and the Democrats that's just a dinner bell with red meat for them to jump on and to say, look, this is what the white people are worried about. Well, here's the thing is, it's not about race. It's about Democrat votes. And it's proven that that's what they want to do, because Senator Elizabeth Warren has said that we need to give citizenship to all these illegal immigrants, and Kamala Harris is the one to get it done. So they let people deliberately come over the border, and Elizabeth Warren is publicly on record as saying, let's give them all citizenship. So that's exactly what they wanted to do. It is this great replacement theory. If you say it out loud, you got to realize that they mean it.
Yeah, and it's not just about trying to replace white people.
No.
I mean, where are most of these people being sent to? Heavily blue cities, because, they want that open sanctuary status, but they're also going to lower income neighborhoods, which are less white.
Right.
And so they're drowning out the black vote, essentially. I mean, they're only 13% of the population. You let millions of illegal immigrants come in, well, guess what? They're going to be a lower percent
right.
of of the population and therefore a lower percentage of the vote. So if anybody should be more angry about it, I would say it should be Black and Hispanic Americans.
Right, and that makes sense. Now, she also wants to bring back the Green New Deal. And just to be clear...
just because it has a nice name doesn't mean it is.
Exactly. Now, AOC sponsored this in the House of Representatives, but Kamala, along with Bernie Sanders, were the sponsors in the Senate. So this is what she wants. This is what she voted to do, and it's going to just destroy our economy. It is going to be forcing people, this radical $93 trillion Green New Deal. And, it's going to cost each individual family over $165,000 to pay for this thing.
I don't know about you, but most of us don't make that.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's just on top of your ordinary expenses. Like, forget about all the credit card debt that you have. Forget about your car payment or your house payment if you have one. Now you have an additional $165,000 tagged onto you.
And the reason why, a policy can cost people so much money. It's not just a big tax bill. They're regulating energy companies to death where they can't make any money, and the gas prices go higher. It's just the more rules businesses have to follow, the harder it is, and it comes to a point where everything comes to a screeching halt.
Right.
And that's why it's going to make prices go up and make you lose jobs, make you lose earning potential as well.
Well, that's one of the things that Trump said in his conversation with Elon Musk is that for every regulation that was brought to him, they had to get rid of 10. It was a 10-to-1 cut. You want a new regulation? Fine. Oh, the regulation is you're not allowed to put hydrochloric acid in baby formula. Okay, that's a good regulation. I mean, that's an that would be an example where that's a good regulation. But by bringing that one, you got to get rid of 10 more. So Kamala Harris also believes in the freedom for individuals associated with violent behavior. Now, this was formerly known as violent criminals, but you got to soften it down. The old George Carlin of or I think he called it the wussification. I think he used a different word, wussification of the English language, where in World War I, being exposed to combat and having
like shell shock the way down to PTSD.
Yeah, to post-traumatic stress syndrome. So this is taken individuals associated with violent behavior, also known previously as
violent criminals.
Yeah, so I mean, you come down, obviously, as the San Francisco DA, she chose not to seek the death penalty against a murderer of a police officer, but she just was tough on crime in other areas. So I mean, when push comes to shove, she's not going to keep you safe.
No, I mean, if you can't keep police officers safe who keep us safe, I don't trust you with anything.
Yeah, I mean, this is just with all the probation and the letting criminals out, and this is not a Harris problem. This is a Harris problem with George Soros, who funds liberal DAs all across the United States that is lenient on crime. But when you put everything together, it's systemic. So that's the big problem. She wants to eliminate private health insurance, and this is true. She wants a single payer system, Medicare for all, and this is one of the most disingenuous things that the Affordable Care Act did, or also known as Obamacare, was that people said, look, you're trying to go to a single payer system, and everybody ran up and down the hallway saying, no, that's not what we want to do. Yes, it is. It is. This is what she wants to do. She wants to go to a single payer system.
Yes, and let's ask other countries how happy they are with it. I get a little tired of these social media posts where someone goes and visits another country and they break their arm, and so they have to go to the hospital and they're expecting this huge bill, and their friend's like, no, it's free because we have socialized medicine. Well, if you need a life-saving procedure, it's not a long Google search how long it took to get this life-saving medical procedure or how many people die waiting on it.
Right. I mean, this is just such a horrible idea, but it's so disingenuous whenever a progressive or a liberal says, no, we've done this, but we're not going to go any further. Of course they're going to go further.
Right.
Of course
I mean,
they're going
come
to
on,
go
we
further.
can't even trust the government to fix potholes or, light poles or anything like that, but we're going to trust them with our insurance.
Right. And she also wants to give Social Security and Medicare to illegal immigrants. Now, this is not I don't see it as a humanitarian issue. This is or a legal issue. This is a resource issue, right? So illegal immigrants that come over are getting driver's licenses. They are getting access to public schools, immunizations, healthcare. And so if you're going to give them Social Security numbers, if that means they're going to draw Social Security benefits without having paid into the system at all.
Yeah. Have you seen the gumball video?
I have.
Yeah, we need to put a link to that.
Okay.
It's a perfect example. It's just these very tall things of gumballs, and it represents all the impoverished people across the world.
Okay.
I mean, just each gumball represents like 1 million people. And we have the United States that has a container that's fairly small compared to these huge containers. Like, okay, legally we allow in, a couple here, and then okay, well, let's allow these people, and ours is just pouring out the seams, and it does like very next to nothing,
right,
compared to everybody else's. But we'll put a link in the comments.
So these are you can go on here. We've scrolled it while we were looking at it. We're going to include the link to Kamala 2024 policies.com. Again, this was done by Trump supporters because Kamala has refused to put in writing her policies. Now, at this point in time, compared to past presidential elections,
yes.
how many pages of policies has like Hillary Clinton put out or Joe Biden had put out by this time?
Well, also to note, Tax Foundation, which compares presidential tax policies, including Marianne Williamson and whatnot, they also say Harris herself has 0 policies
right
out there, just for further proof. But so Biden himself, however intellectually dishonest you want to say he is, had a 110-page policy out. Hillary Clinton, by this point in her campaign, had a 200-page policy put out. So
Harris is behind the power curve.
I would say this whole campaign is basically run by the media. It's just a free in-kind contribution. That's all it is.
Yeah, I agree. Now let's talk about the things that she publicly has said, which one can assume is part of her policy. So she hasn't put it in writing, but in her campaign speeches on Friday, she announced at least 2 policy positions that really stick out. And one was that she was going to give $25,000 to every single first-time home buyer. Now, Kimberly, as a CPA, what is that going to do to housing prices?
Well, let's make this really simple. So it's August in Houston. You live in a neighborhood. People are out in the yards, working in their yards on a Sunday afternoon. You open up a lemonade stand. People are going to buy your lemonade, right?
Right.
Hey, they got paid on Friday. They have money in their pocket. Are you going to charge more or less?
That's a good point.
Now, if they hadn't gotten paid, you might not charge as much. It's hot as hell out here, like 50 cents for a glass of lemonade. But, so-and-so down there got a bonus. You might charge them another 25 cents. So it's just going to flood the market. I mean, that's all it's going to do. And
yeah, I think I heard something say that ultimately bottom line is that price of every single house just went up by $25,000.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's going to do.
Right. Now, the next thing, this was kind of a shocker, but she is going to price control food and fuel, energy, things like that. She wants to cap prices. Now, that is straight up socialism, where it has never worked anywhere else, but for some reason American liberal educators or analysts or whatever you want to call them, for some reason, well, all those other countries in the history of the world just weren't doing it right, and we know how to do it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we have a 20% of proficiency rating in our grade schools, and that doesn't mean they're excellent at it. That means they barely know how to do it.
Well, this is probably why she
thinks we're stupid enough to fall for it.
She thinks we're stupid enough to fall for it.
Also, there's so many different factors that go into pricing. What your prices are, what you think the demand will be, what bumps in the road you think are going to be just on the horizon, and you think the government can figure out the price point that's right for every little thing when you have so many factors going into every little thing. They're smart enough, again, can't fix potholes, can't put criminals in jail, can't do basic things, but they can figure out the complexities of the market, really.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the problem that I have with this whole thing is what it will do is it will create a secondary market. And this is what happens in all countries where price fixing happens, is a black market emerges, and you have a secondary market. And this happened during World War II with food stamps and rationing, or the victory stamps.
And I imagine the quality on those products are not going to be very good.
Well, yeah, I mean the best pieces of meat were actually getting down to the black market stuff, and the stuff that was you used your coupons for that was about to spoil was what was served, and because they get a lot more money for the prime cuts of meat. The same thing that happened in Venezuela. What happens is you get shortages of products because companies are less inclined to make them because supply and demand can't keep up. And then you have that secondary market, again, the black market created, and that rubs into supply and demand, which exacerbates the shortages that will happen. Just an absolute disaster. Clearly, what she's trying to do is buying votes. That's what she's trying to do. She's trying to get.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And just this whole campaign, the whole DNC is just so insulting to human intelligence. But also the government works slowly. I think most of us can agree on that.
Right.
Very, very, very slowly. Ask any VA who's waiting for benefits or health care or anything. You think if a supplier's price increase because you made it where they couldn't get like a farmer couldn't get pesticides because of your green energy, agenda. And so they have to use less efficient fertilizer, so they can't grow as much. Their costs go up because the fertilizer you do let them use costs more. You're going to adjust the prices for that in a timely fashion? Of course not. Right.
I mean, here we go. The who she's trying to appeal are people who don't understand how economics works, right? So the $25,000 to help people get into homes just raised the price of houses by $25,000, but people don't understand that part, or at least the people that she's trying to cater and get their vote don't understand that part, that it's a zero-sum game there, and all that happened was people took taxpayer money to the tune of $25,000. And then the price fixing of the food, it sounds good to someone who doesn't realize how inflation's going to work, how there's going to be shortages, but ultimately what it boils down to, what this whole thing boils down to is when she said on day one as president, I'm going to implement these things, and I'm going to bring inflation down, and I'm going to bring the cost of food down. Where have you been? It's 3 years and 6 months into your administration because you are currently the vice president of the United States.
To me, if she really cared about people, she would do whatever she could right now while she has the power and not wait around for the vote.
Right. Exactly.
But
But I'm going to wait 6 more months because on my day one, I'll fix the problem. I'm not going to fix it for you now. I'm not going to fix it for you now.
Give me what I need first, and then I might do for you what you're wanting me to do.
Yeah. So your pain that you're experiencing now with, in her own words, the cost of a loaf of bread has gone up 50%. The cost of ground meat has gone up 50%. These are her words that she has used on campaign rallies, and when she's elected on day one, she's going to fix the problem. But she's not going to do it right now because she still needs your vote. So she wants you to experience pain until she gets elected, and then supposedly she's going to fix the problem.
Well, if she fixed it now, she would prove that she could do it, and I think the proof would be in the pudding, and the people would be like, okay, let's go.
So there's obviously a reason why she wants people to experience pain.
Yep.
She's doing that deliberately, because if she's saying that she can fix it on day one, then man, day one is now. Do it now.
Also, I'd like to point out, not only do price increases hurt consumers,
right,
they also hurt investors, because if a company's profits go down, well, why do you invest?
To make money.
Make money,
yeah.
so you can get dividends, or so you can get an increased stock price and then sell it later for a bigger gain. So she's hurting the poor people. She's hurting the middle class, because most middle class people, their retirement savings are going to be in a 401k or a Roth IRA or something like that. She's just hurting everybody.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. And she wants to, in order to get your vote. And another thing, RFK Jr., who has just been blindsided and dragged through the mud and put up roadblocks and barriers every single chance he can get to get any headway for his third-party nomination for the presidency. Because he was running as a Democrat, but the DNC refused to give him any face time. The mainstream media refused to give him any airtime.
And there have been PACs formed just to keep him off state ballots.
So the Democrats have just been deliberately trying to prevent him from gaining any traction. And so he had to break off and run as an independent. And, this is crazy. And so I think there's a report right now that RFK Jr.'s vice president, Nicole Shanahan, she is reportedly saying that they're in talks with the Trump administration, or trying to decide to suspend their campaign and have all of their votes go over to the Trump campaign. She is a lifelong Democrat and has spent millions of dollars in funding Democrat races throughout her life. And she has said that she is sorely disappointed that she has spent any amount of money helping Democrats because of the way that they have been treated, and also for the danger of a Kamala Harris and Tim Walz potential presidency.
Well, in our last segment, we spoke about loyalty, and
sure.
I like that she was able to say that. Loyalty to the American public, and I think she's very indicative of many disenfranchised Democrats. I mean, you have people who, seem to proudly say, "Oh yes, I'm a Democrat. I vote Democrat Party," but in secret, they're very disenfranchised. I mean, for a variety of reasons. So that's not what the Democrat Party has done to RFK. Very undemocratic.
Right.
Not debating, not allowing them on ballots. Saying you show up in a state, any delegates you get will automatically go to Biden back at the time. But, a lot of Democrats are also disenfranchised over Title IX changes. I mean, at the DNC, they had male bathrooms and then gender-neutral bathrooms.
Crazy.
No, is that... I don't like to throw around buzzwords, but that is so chauvinistic.
Right.
So chauvinistic. And then they had a gender-neutral prayer room with Islamic mats. So, not a female one. No, gender neutral.
Which is what they want to be separated.
Islam, they do not put up with that.
Yep.
They will throw you off a building, okay? And nothing for Christians, nothing for Jews.
Right. Well, this just goes to show you that, again, how disingenuous the Democratic Party has become. I mean, again, Kamala Harris has not received a single primary vote, not in her 2020 run. She dropped out before the Iowa caucus. Not in this 2024 election, not a single primary vote. All Biden ran disingenuously, and the DNC shoved RFK Jr. to the side, and it turned out that it was illegitimate. Biden wasn't going to run across the finish line.
And wouldn't give him secret security detail.
Exactly.
I mean, his last name is Kennedy. Kennedy.
Right. Just make sure that you do your research. Make sure you continue to tune in to Azimuth Podcast. make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, because you'll never miss an episode, and we're going to bring you the truth, just like we're bringing you these recordings of the actual websites that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have that have no policies on there, because they are pulling the wool over your eye, and they're hoping that Beyonce and Taylor Swift will do all, and the media will do all the work for them. That's what's happening. Thank you for tuning into Azimuth Podcast. Please stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all of the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.